Hello and welcome to episode 15 of On the Bench.
If you build aircraft, ships, armour, automotive, science fiction, figures, or space, this is the podcast for you.
In this episode, we're joined by Ian, and Julian's back again to talk about modelling tools as well as how to display your models once they're completed. Also, we'll be having a look at what's new.
On the Bench is available on iTunes, and now we're also available on Stitcher. So go right ahead to your favourite podcast app and mark us down as your favourite so you don't miss any episodes.
And hello and welcome to the next episode of On the Bench. And with me today, I've got Ian. G'day, Ian.
G'day, Dave. G'day, listeners.
And back we've got Julian.
Hello.
Julian's been away the last couple of episodes because we've had some special guests and don't have enough microphones to share around. So Julian was on a sabbatical for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
A couple of episodes.
That's fine. I don't mind that.
So, guys.
He gets to sleep in.
He gets to
right.
sleep in. So, guys, what have you been doing?
Myself?
Yep.
Started on my ICM, Australian Model T Ford.
And how's that going?
Quite good, actually. I've got a Russian aftermarket photo etch set for it, which I not knowing acrylic, so I've got no idea what brand or what it is. So I've been slamming that onto it, like replacing the running boards and a few other bits and pieces. So it's come along quite well. Hopefully this weekend I'll be hooking straight in again.
What about yourself, Julian? What have you been up to?
I started on a KO-46, the Tamiya kit. It's the one with the gun that points out the top, the bomber interceptor.
Yes, the Dyna.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it. Like I actually got it 98% construction complete on the first day.
Yep.
Smashed it out.
It's Tamiya. You can do that with Tamiya kits.
It went together almost a bit better than major construction, like the wing to fuselage. It went together so well.
Nice, yeah. And the good thing with those kits, you need bugger all putty too.
I didn't use any putty at all.
There you go.
Almost a snap fit.
There's a recommendation for a kid, isn't it?
Almost a snap fit.
What about you, Dave?
Well, I've actually been doing some modelling.
Whoa.
For Christmas, I got the Take-Home Mouse 2. So it was sitting up there just calling, build me, build me. So I pulled it down, the first armour kit ever.
Yep.
And what an exercise in pain.
Patience?
Oh, my God. The tracks. So, like, there's 60, there's 180 individual links for each side of the tracks. And to get them off the sprue, I counted this, a total of 6,120 individual snips to get just individual tracks off the screws. Off the sprues. So it was driving me nuts at one point.
And then you got to clean them up.
Yeah, then you got to clean them up. And then you got to assemble them and lock them all into place. And a couple broke along the way, unfortunately, getting them off the sprue.
That's why they give you spares.
They do, actually. You get 5 of each as a spare. So
that's good.
So I've got all the tracks done now. I'm just working on the main chassis. I really got infuriated with it at one point, so I moved on and built the turret at the recommendation of somebody else. Just find something else in the kit to build.
Yep.
But you know what? It's amazing how many sort of noob mistakes you do. Sort of, dumb mistakes where you sort of forget things. And
if you haven't done it for a while, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking it's been a good 12 months since I've been on the bench and actually, built something because I've been so busy with work and busy with, moving house and all the rest of it.
Yep.
Getting this program set up. And so some of the really dumb mistakes, let me think now. I prefer using Tamiya extra thin glue.
Yep.
That and also the Loctite 406.
Yes.
Which I've run out of. I can't find any more. So they're my two primary go-to glues.
Mm-hmm.
So when when I was building the turret, so there's little things that you pop into the top of the turret. And normally what I do with, Loctite 406, you just sort of flip it over and you just paint put a bit of extra thin on the interior of it.
Yep.
And so that way you've got no glue on top. Mm-hmm. But the fit wasn't quite as tight as I expected. And so it was a particularly hot day and it ran through the other side. So I've got this
big fingerprint.
fingerprint. I've got this glue all oozing out. And I'm sitting there smacking my forehead going, oh, you idiot.
Oh, you got putty?
Yeah,
easily fixed with putty.
Yeah, so I've been sort of just gently sanding it and getting rid of the glue, and it's working well.
Yep.
The other thing is too that when you're cutting delicate parts away from the sprue, so with your sprue, you've got your main sort of full sprue, and you've got the outer edge in which everything sort of hangs in the middle. And I find with styrene is that sometimes the tiny parts are under a real lot of stress. So in the past, what I've always done is I've clipped the main sort of sprues up and down the sides first, before I then get into the really delicate parts.
Yeah,
and even use a razor saw sometimes.
Exactly.
But having to do 6,120 individual clips with a razor saw, I elected just to use my little trusty sort of snippers. And, of course, I completely forgot about the stress on the actual part. So the first couple I did, they just went snap right in half. And I'm going, oh, no.
Oh, this isn't going to work.
Such a newbie mistake.
Yeah.
Well, you could always have tried the hot knife. That's a good one.
I've never tried the hot knife.
No, me neither.
No, I've never tried it.
Always been worried about warping.
Yeah.
I haven't had a knife I could dispose of that easily.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, actually, we're going to be talking later on about tools and everything, so we can talk about knives and stuff like that as well.
Excellent.
So there's sort of a great little segue into it. But before we go into that segment, we're going to have a quick look at listener mail. We've had a few people write in and make contact with us, so I think it's a good point to cross over to that. So back in 1 minute. And we're back with some listener mail. So first of all, we've got an email from Dave Hourigan, and Dave writes, "Hi Dave, Ian and Julian. I've recently discovered your podcast and it's very entertaining and informative. Congrats on setting up a modelling podcast. I remember searching in vain for a good one about a year ago, and I'm also extra chuffed that you guys are Aussies and from my own hometown in Melbourne. I particularly enjoyed hearing your discussions in episodes 6 and 7 about building for competitions. And they were quite popular episodes, actually.
Yes, they were, yeah.
After about, where he goes on to say, I'm a lifelong modeller. Since I was a teenager in the 80s, I tend to build 1/32nd scale World War II aircraft and 1/35th World War II armour, although I've recently been branching into sci-fi stuff. About 18 months ago, I set up my modelling blog and YouTube channel, which is called Dave's Model Workshop, which I found a very interesting experience, and it's been fascinating connecting with various model makers all over the world and having feedback from viewers. And we got to say we feel the same about that too.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
awesome hearing back from everybody.
It is.
Yep.
So keep your eyes open. We're going to be talking with Dave in the future about doing a crossover between his YouTube channel and our podcast. So pretty excited and pumped about that. Yep. Also, I've heard from Chris McGadgen, who from Canada. I've got to say, there's a lot of Canadians suddenly picking up. It had a huge spike in...
Well, it's too cold to do anything else up there, mate.
It is. But there's been a huge spike in Canadians sort of touching base and connecting with us and saying they're listening, so which is awesome. So, g'day, Chris. And Chris posted to our Facebook page and said, hey, guys, great podcast. Keep up the good work. Possible topic for the future would be what to do with your model once it's done. Just put it on the shelf. Do you have a special display cabinet? Do you dust them once in a while? And thanks from Chris. So we will be touching on that later on in the episode, Chris. That's a great idea. And it's going to keep us chatting away for a little while on that.
That it will.
And there's another one, and I'm having a bit of a technical issue. I can't find where it came from, but somebody else wrote in and made contact with us suggesting that we do a segment on tools and specialist tools and what's the best tools and what's the minimum. And
Right up your alley there, Julian.
and I think that
I'm
leads
quite a stickler
into
for my tools.
I think that leads into what we're going to talk about next. So take it away, guys. Your favourite tools?
First thoughts. I know a lot of modelers will often think of their airbrush when it comes to tools, because that's obviously the biggest purchase you're going to make. I mean, like once you sort of realize that you're this is your hobby and you're really going to get into it, you usually upgrade from some cheap, crappy airbrush to something that's decent, right?
That's right, yes.
People off. Like, not so much here in Australia, but a lot of people tend to go for the Iwata series of airbrushes. That's really popular.
Yeah, very expensive, the Iwata, though.
But the one thing that really gets under my skin is when people ignore the other tools that they have. They'll upgrade their airbrush, and then they'll stick with the same crappy pair of tweezers that they've been using since day one, right? And
you mean parts flingers?
Yes. Well, that's part of the reason, right? Because a lot of people, their first set of tweezers will often be the kind that have teeth, and those are the worst for modelling.
Yeah,
they're absolutely the worst, because if you have any glue on the part, it'll put nice little teeth marks in your parts. Yeah, that's the worst. And the other, obviously, the part flinging, as everyone knows that, right? So, I mean, I really like the Tamiya angled tweezers. Those are my favourite, but there are plenty of cheap alternatives out there that are just as good. You know,
I must have good 10 or 12 different style of tweezers at home.
Yeah,
just used for different applications.
Well, sometimes you just need two, to hold one thing and then move another. You know, like, I mean, I use my tweezers for decals as well. It helps to have you hold the sheet in one set of tweezers and then use the other to move it across.
Yep.
Oh, see, I don't do that. I use a brush.
You use a brush?
Yeah, so I'll hold the decal sheet with the tweezers after I've cut out the actual decal I'm going to put on. Then I'll just get a very small paintbrush and just use that to transfer and move the decal across, so I can find I've got more sort of movement and control over where the decal goes.
You know what I found the most important tool for decaling?
What's that?
Cotton buds.
Yes, absolutely.
That's all I use now.
Yep.
And if you want to remove the water from the decal underneath, you just roll the cotton bud across.
For our North American listeners, they call them Q-tips.
Q-tips, that's it. Yes.
But before you use a Q-tip, you've got to give it a bit of a clean to make sure there's no loose bits of cotton hanging off it.
Of course, yeah.
Yep.
My most important tools, there's three of them. There's the blade, and I'm lucky because I've managed to get, I know a veterinary surgeon. So I've been going to her and saying,
blades.
Can I have some surgical blades? So she comes, she brings a whole heap of surgical blades over to me. It costs me next to nothing. So
that's good.
Which is awesome. And man, they're sharp.
What you need to do is make friends with a dentist.
Yeah, I don't like dentists.
Get some of their tools.
The dentists have all the good tools.
Oh, the dentists have the good tools.
So the blade is not called a tool because it is. It works. You know, I use it for a whole heap of different things. The second thing is the tweezers. I'm with you, Julian. I love I've got the knockoff angled Tamiya tweezers, and I've got three of them exactly the same. And I've got another one to actually lock. So when you sort of let go, it automatically locks it. Holds it in place.
Yep.
And my most other favourite tool would have to be micro chisels.
Yep.
I've got a set of 2 micro chisels, and they are just awesome for taking off seams and taking it in such a way that you don't do any damage to the model whatsoever.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Love it.
Yes.
Moving on from there is the other thing is a saw as well.
Yes.
Yep.
Just a really fine.
It's almost necessary if you're going to do any work with resin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And with resin, then you need a dust mask.
Yes. Yep. P2 mask.
Yep.
So I've got the micro saw, and again, as I was saying earlier on, when you're sort of taking off delicate pieces, I'll always just reach for that first and just saw it off rather than trying to cut it off.
Clean it up from there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, as you said, you're not going to put any stress on it when you're trying to snip it off with your nippers.
No, that's right. And speaking of nippers, I've got 2 types. I've got the ones that all modelers have. I can't think of the name. That begins with X.
Oh, the Exacto.
Is that?
Xeron.
Xeron, yeah, they got the Xerons. Which, you know, for what they were saying, I wasn't really too impressed. I didn't think it was that much of a great sort of snipper.
Well, I had a pair of Xerons and I sort of retired them because even though they were sort of, I really like the pointed ones. Like cause some of them are a bit sort of round nosed.
Yeah,
I
you
like
need the pointed ones so you can get right in there.
Yeah, those are the best.
Yep.
But also there's sort of a difference between like the kind that sort of is like almost like two wedges coming in from either side to cut the part off, and it separates them sideways.
Yep.
And that can stress the part.
Yep.
And then there are others that are more of a slicing action.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you got like I believe it's the God Hand ones, which are like a flat one and a blade. And when they come together, it's almost like a
like a guillotine cut.
Yeah, like a knife on a cutting board kind of thing.
I've gone to when I'm going around like hardware stores. So out here in Australia, we've got Bunnings. In the US, I think there's a similar called Home Depot or something like that. Don't know what they got in Europe or Canada. I guess it'd be something similar. But I always go and have a look in the electrical section for the cutters there because you find you get really fine ones. And I've got a pair that I came across. I had to go to a specialty shop that specialises in selling electricians' equipment. And I bought the pair there, and they're my absolute favourites.
Right.
Except I used to find a bit of metal once, and I've taken a dig at it.
Yeah, but once you do that, they're garbage.
I know. Well, they're still soldering on, but I can't remember who bought these things. So I've been hunting around for a replacement pair, and I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, you really sort of got to keep certain tools for certain things and not be lazy and just sort of reach for them when they're convenient.
Yeah. Well, one of my favourite tools is one I made myself.
Oh.
My little sanding blocks. I made all different size, shaped sanding blocks because I do all wet sanding.
Oh, yeah.
So I made a little square one, a little angled one, a little thin one, a round one.
I've never done wet sanding.
So when you're sanding, like sanding seams and that, rather than using your fingers, because I spent in my youth some time after school working in a panel beaters. And you always got whacked around the fingers if you used your fingers when you were sanding.
Oh, how come?
Because it leaves channels.
Ah.
So whereas if you use a flat edge on your sanding, you're always going to get perfectly smooth sanding.
Oh.
And all you need is just go down and just find some little bits of wood and just grab your little hobby saw and just cut them into different shapes.
And just glue the sandpaper on.
Glue the sandpaper to it or fold it around.
Yep.
That's just... To me, I'll be lost without them now. I wouldn't be able to do any sanding without those things.
The other place I tend to haunt is in the supermarkets down in the women's cosmetics section. Because you can get all the nail files down there. And, the cheap throwaway ones.
Oh, the buffing.
The buffing stuff and that.
Yep.
And,
yeah, the buffing ones are good.
And they're really good. And they cost, they're not that expensive. So just go to your local supermarket and sort of, don't try to look too obvious as you're hanging around the cosmetics section. But...
Well, another one I recently purchased, I'm still waiting on. I've got some at home, but I purchased 500 more 1mm pipettes.
I know, I've got them. They're awesome, aren't they?
1mm pipettes.
Yeah.
And I think I bought 500. I think it cost me about $10.
Yeah.
From China.
Yeah.
And they're perfect for putting your paint in your airbrush.
Yep. One use, throw them away after you finish.
If it costs you 0.0001 cent, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you got 500 or 600 of them sitting there, well, you don't have to worry about it for a while. And once you get low, you just order another couple of hundred. They're cheap as chips.
Yeah. Jeweler's files is another one I've got.
Yeah, rat files.
They're
handy.
They're very handy. But you got to get the real jeweler's one so they're super fine and don't tear great big chunks out.
Exactly, yeah.
So when we're saying rat files, it looks like a rat tail when you look
Correct,
at it.
They curve.
Yeah, they're awesome for, getting different sort of shapes or increasing holes or something like that.
I found it the only really time I've had to use one was when I was building the Hasegawa 48 scale Hawker Hurricane Mark II. Because the bottom of the wing, where it joined onto the fuselage, rather than having it forwards about 3mm, where it would have been in the panel line, they put it right where the fabric is, where the fabric channels are.
Oh.
And then to clean that up and get it nice and smooth so you couldn't see the join, well, the best tool for that was the rat file.
Yeah.
Because if you try and do that with a flat file, with a flat curve one, you're just going to cut gouges in.
Yep. The only thing with the files is the metal files is that you got to clean them constantly.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, we'll just get yourself a little brass brush.
Yep. Just give me a bit of a brush.
Yep.
Yep.
Another handy tool everyone needs, or if you can afford, is a Dremel.
Got a
good
Dremel? Yes, got a Dremel. There's two types. The one I've got is like a pistol grip one.
Oh,
and it
I
sits
prefer the pencil style, the jewelers and gravers ones.
Yeah, I used to have one of them, but then I came across a guy who was building. What was he building? He was doing a science fiction subject, and he was drilling thousands of holes so he could put the fiber optics through to make all the light shine through on his subject.
Yep.
And he got a sore wrist from using the model that you got, and he found this pistol grip one. And also it's cordless as well, so you just pick it up and it sits in a cradle and recharges. Great little thing. And that he found that awesome. And he says you get so much control over, where the hole goes. Because when you're drilling with the tiny little drill bits that we use, the micro drills, it's so fragile. So you've really got to have that control.
Because I bought a set of those. I haven't used them yet. I'm not game enough to use them, of drill bits. And I can't remember what brand they are, but these go like way thinner than hair thin.
Yeah.
And I don't know the brand, but people would probably know because they've always got those little different coloured sleeves around the outside.
Yes.
Like a big chuck end, and that just
you're getting me all excited now, Ian. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Yes,
but I've had a set for about 4 years, and I'm too scared to use
really?
them because I just don't want to be using that. Ting, they're just so small.
Man, so fragile as well. Yeah.
And another interesting tool I found, which I use a fair bit, is me sonic cleaner.
Yes, I've got one of them.
Cleaning the airbrush.
So every time I use one of those on my airbrush, nothing ever comes out. Nothing.
What do you use? Water?
No, yeah, we have water. Yeah.
What are you painting?
I'm lacquer thinner.
Acrylic thinners.
Yeah, no. Well, I do some acrylic, but I usually thin with lacquer.
You use guns? Paint?
Yeah.
Yeah. Put metho in it.
Okay.
Methylated spirits. And just leave it running, and just because I think they give you about a 4 or 5 minute running time.
Well,
yeah.
And what I do is I give it about 3 bursts.
Yep.
And you'd be amazed with the metho will break it down a lot quicker than the water.
All right, I'll give it a shot. But I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that I clean my airbrush out with lacquer thinner. So there's like
it's probably clean already.
Yeah, I mean it just liquefies anything if it's it's completely dry.
Or if you want to go a little bit further, use a bit of MEK.
Well, with those sonic cleaners, there's a number of different sort of solutions that I've seen around, and I've tried most of them.
Yep.
So there's just soapy water, which it's all right. There's a 50-50 mix with Windex, which is like a window cleaning product, and water. There's the Metho one that you use, and I've tried that as well. I had this particularly dirty airbrush. So this is a story of what not to do. So I put my 50-50 water and Windex mix in there, and I thought, you know what, I'll let it soak overnight, the airbrush soak overnight. And I came back the next day, and all the shiny bit had all just been taken off the airbrush. The Windex had eaten into it.
That's the ammonium in the Windex. Yeah, that'll strip.
Well, I didn't know. So
start etching your own airbrush.
Well, I've got this ugly airbrush now. It looks like a rat airbrush because it's all pitted.
So you got a rat rod airbrush. Yeah, hey, that's pretty cool.
Because I know some people say you should never put Windex to clean out the insides of your airbrush because the ammonia in it will strip the plating off.
Yes.
But that said, even if you don't, the plating's going to come off, going to wear off anyway, because it always does.
And I'll still use Windex to do that, but I'll remove it immediately. I'll flush it with water straight afterwards.
I think it might be AK or MIG. I think it is AK, but they sell airbrush cleaner.
Yeah.
And you have a smell at it. It smells like Windex.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's why it's basically a Windex compound.
Absolutely. Yeah, except it's not the sort of blue colour that Windex is.
It's just clear.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it is possible they just might remove the ammonia component from the Windex.
Yeah.
Like that's what the formula is, that without ammonia in it.
Yes, that could be it too.
Still smells like window cleaner to me.
Yeah,
the OK stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a great cleaner.
It works.
Yeah, it's a great cleaner.
It works.
Absolutely.
It works well.
And another one, what's that company that does those metal coloured paints? Geez, I'm hopeless at memory.
Metal colour.
Alclad.
Alclad, they've got a cleaner as well. And that is awesome.
Yes.
That really works well. And
Yeah.
it works on all different types of paints, I found.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Sounds like lacquer, because that's a lacquer company. That's kind of what they do. Alclad lacquers.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But their claimed airbrush cleaner, it's the stuff. It works. It gets that really hard sort of stuff off. I find anyway.
No, I'm sure it works.
You're looking at me funny,
No,
Julian.
no, I'm just. It sounds to me like a lot like it's just a bit stronger lacquer thinners, and it'll liquefy any paint you put it on.
Well, I find if you're really stuck, I just use me multi-purpose thinners. That'll just clean anything.
Oh, like you get from a hardware store.
Yeah,
Yeah, that works well.
multi-purpose
Yeah.
MP thinners.
Yep.
Works great.
Yep. Stinks
Smells
your room.
like hell, yeah.
You come out, and go, woo.
Yeah, just be aware not to submerge your airbrush in it overnight.
I never.
So you'll ruin your seals real quick like that.
Yes. And yeah, another good thing for your airbrush too is once in a while give the some parts a bit of a grease. You can get proper airbrush grease.
Yep.
Which I say it just looks like Vaseline to me, but.
Well, basically, airbrush is like a rifle, so every time you use it, you got to strip it down and clean it.
Well, that's right, yeah. And you got to make sure you don't let your O-rings dry out too much. Too.
Yep.
Then they start to crack, and then you start getting leaks and splattering, and you just get problems.
See, I used to clean my airbrush out religiously all the time, but I just don't do that anymore. I just run thinners through it, bit of back pressure, and it's usually pretty good to go.
Do you use your airbrush for like doing metallics and straight colour?
Yeah.
Or do you have separate airbrush?
Yeah,
I got separate airbrush. I got an airbrush dedicated to metallics, and I got an airbrush dedicated to colour, and I got a third airbrush which is a cheaper one, but it's got a huge pot on it, which is like for doing large, big areas. Because I remember I used to always religiously you'd clean your airbrush out after doing a metallic colour, and you'd think it's spotless. And next thing you know, you start putting your colour on, and all of a sudden you get, as you said, you get sparkles.
Yeah.
Like, where the hell did that come from?
Yep.
And after a while, it was like, I'm sick of this. So I just went and bought another airbrush. And that one is just dedicated for metallics.
But you know what? Airbrushes are so cheap now.
Yeah, you can pick them up cheap.
You can get them down. I mean, I've seen them for about $80 now, and they're still good airbrushes.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the knockoffs coming from wherever they come from, whoever makes the knockoffs. But geez, they're not bad at all.
They're not like the Harder and Steinbeck, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like. Then you're paying big money, but you're getting a top quality machine.
Yeah. But I think for what we're doing though is that an $80 airbrush gravity feed is just going to be perfect for what we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think average I spends on both my good airbrushes about $170, $180 a piece.
see, that's not bad. I mean, you'd spend that plus more on a model kit anyway. So
that's right.
And
I bought it from the one company, which is called Runway 13.
that's where I got mine from as well.
And
Yeah.
I bought a compressor off them.
Yep.
A 3-way gate, so I can run all 3 airbrushes.
Yes.
At once.
Yep.
Manifold,
should note that for our listeners that Runway 13 is an Australian company.
Yes.
And they pretty much. I mean, maybe you could get it overseas, but it's probably. I think it's a really good idea to get your airbrush locally.
Yes.
If you've got if you're in the United States, I'm sure you can't go past a Badger.
Yep.
They probably sell some like high end. I think it's a Sotar 2020 is their high end one.
Not too sure.
Yeah.
My first airbrush was actually a Badger.
Yeah, same here.
But it
Single
was
action.
It was your single action siphon feed.
Yep, exactly same.
On that cup, it was, you know what? And when I first used it, I thought, oh my god, this is a revelation!
Yeah.
I can't believe how much of a great paint job I'm getting.
The first time I used mine, it was just like a jam job. It was like, where'd the detail go?
What'd you do? Oh, you
Just jammed the paint on. I was about 8 or 9 years old, mate. I didn't know any better.
You had an airbrush at 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah, I started modelling when I was 7.
Oh wow, geez, you're a very advanced young man, weren't you?
Yeah. Of course I was. Spent all my pocket money. Got myself a really cheap Badger. And that was back in the days where I didn't have a compressor ring. I had to buy those little cans.
Oh yeah.
The aerosol.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
So you get about 1.5 jobs done and you're out of air.
Well, because my dad was a modeler, and so I was sort of introduced to it by him. So
Yep.
when I started taking an interest, he decided to go out and get us a decent airbrush.
Yep.
It was a single action, But it was Mr. Procon boy or whatever it is. It's like the Guns rebranded Iwata airbrushes.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, it was one of those, and it came with the can thing, and of course it all froze up, and no air came out of it, and then, he swore, and then we came back like a week later with the right fittings to hook it up to a compressor, and yeah, that was all right.
It'd have to be one of the greatest cons since bottled water. Selling air in a can.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Well, I ended up
Seriously?
in my teenage years when I was still living at home because I couldn't run a compressor at home because my parents would get pretty upset because of the noise. I ended up buying a G-size cylinder,
Yeah.
and that'd last me 4 months.
Yep.
And I'd just get it changed over, and that was nice and quiet.
Yeah, I imagine it would be.
And then I built my own compressor.
Oh no! Here we go.
Using a fridge motor,
Wow.
and it was a Franken compressor. So, and it was like running a fridge. It was that quiet, and it was great. A little trolley with wheels.
He's like the MacGyver of modelling, isn't he?
It was a real shame. I should have taken a photo.
You
of
should have taken a
but
photo of it.
It was the Franken compressor. Hey, it worked well, and then I just got to the point where it just started leaking everywhere. All the brazing after a while because it was all flimsy, all the lines and that started cracking.
Oh, jeez. So, what other special tools do we use? Oh, we've forgotten the most important ones, the Eyeball Mark 1. So, what we use to...
The eyes.
The eyes, yeah.
Yes.
So, I've got one of those Optivisor. And I've recently got a new one where it's got little LED lights on it as well, which I find has been quite helpful.
Does it have like a red light that goes from left to right?
No.
So you pretend you're a silent.
No. But, because I wear reading glasses now, so I've got reading glasses perched on my nose, the Optivisor on top. And between the two, I've got this little slit of normal vision that I sort of look across to watch the TV. And sometimes when I move my head the wrong way, I just got to get all giddy. But I like your idea. You just buy reading glasses of different strength.
Yeah, I'll just go to the chemist and get the magnifiers.
Yeah, the reading magnifiers.
Yeah, and I've got a 1.5 and a 3.
Yep.
And the 3's fine, but you can't use the 3 for too long because if you've got normal vision like I do, it really strains the old eyeballs and you get to feel it. You take your glasses off and you've got to blink a fair few times.
Yeah. But, for the parts that we get,
when you're doing like ship models and you're working like on micro parts on 1 to 350 scale, you need a little bit of
well, let alone ship models. I mean, this one 35th scale tank that I'm doing, just to make sure you get the track pieces lined up properly, I've got to have some sort of magnification. If you get that wrong, then glue it in place and you sort of muck that up.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I've tried things where you have those. It's like a light with the magnifying glass.
Yeah, I got one of them.
And I just didn't. I wasn't comfortable working with that.
It was getting in the way.
Yes, I found the same.
To me, it was especially if you're painting, like when you're doing like very fine hand painting.
Yep.
And you're forever like whacking the end of your paintbrush into the lens.
Well, it's not unlike using glasses and stuff. It's not stereoscopic vision, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's not. It's just a single sort of
so you've got no
lens
depth perception.
Yeah, exactly. And
yes.
you lose your depth perception.
Yeah,
and like you got your little figure, and you next thing you know, you're just stabbing it with the paintbrush. So you're making a mess of the figure or whatever you're painting, and totally destroying your paintbrush in one hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's another interesting tool. You need good paintbrushes, and you can get paintbrushes in all different sizes.
Oh, you can. The important thing is you get the quality one so it doesn't leave the bristles sort of on your model as you're painting it.
And the big fun thing, the interesting thing I found was I think Julian and Dave have both seen it. Last year I managed to find myself a 100-0 paintbrush. Which I've used once.
So what you've got like a good 3 seconds before the paint dries on the end of it.
Well, basically, if you can even see there's paint on it, it's that fine. It's like about 4 or 5 hairs.
The paint's going to be that thin down so that he can actually get it onto the bristle.
Yeah, but the more you thin, acrylics, the more you thin it down, the faster it dries.
Yes, exactly.
So you can put a retarder on it as well.
Yep.
Oh, man.
But you can get all different sizes and shapes.
Yep.
You get like your normal pointy brushes. You can get chisel brushes.
Yep.
Chisel brushes are good for doing large areas and dry brushing.
Mm.
And then you got your other brushes for
Weathering. Yep. The ones that you're quite happy that'll be destroyed, they're used for weathering. And
especially if you're using pigments, you know you're going to ruin a paintbrush as soon as you start using pigments.
Yep.
That's where you do, with pigments, I just buy the cheap stuff. Cheap and nasty paintbrush, and you know it's going to get destroyed after 2 uses. So you're not worried about throwing it out.
And the other thing too, it's a cutting mat, a decent cutting mat underneath.
Yes.
Underneath your on your workbench.
I find though when doing photo etch, I won't use a cutting mat.
Yeah.
I'll use a bit of glass.
Yeah, because otherwise the knife will pass through it and then it'll pinch the.
And you end up with curved edges.
Yep.
Whereas I find if I use a flat bit of glass, like I ended up getting people are familiar with bench grinders, and you got those little glass. They're like a little guard.
Yep.
That hangs off the front.
Yep.
One of them is perfect for photo etch.
Yep.
It's not too big because my actual hobby bench, I work on a large sheet of glass. It's easy to clean. You can spill glue, you can spill paint, or you need a flat blade and just scrape it off and bit of Windex and it's ready to go.
Pity about the carpet underneath, but yeah.
No, always you put mats underneath. Everywhere I work, there's always mats underneath. Yeah. And even then you lose parts.
Of course, a tile is just as good.
Yes, tiling. Yeah.
I actually use a tile when I'm doing the photo etch.
Yeah. Yep. You can get big tiles too.
Yep.
But I find cutting photo etch is a challenge at times. Depends on what photo etch it is.
Yeah, no, I don't have any issues. I think sometimes because what I've got is a pair of not flat nose. It looks like almost like a duck bill pliers.
Yep.
And I can hold the part in there and hold it securely enough that I can just file off any rough bits or anything.
That's what. Yeah,
as well.
Yeah. But actually cutting it off the sprues can be a challenge.
Also, with regards to photo etch, the bending tools.
Yeah.
If anyone's out there looking
I think I forgot to talk about the bending tools.
If you're going to get a bending tool, don't get the stupid big one that is gigantic.
What's wrong with that?
You'll probably never. Most people will never use most of it.
You don't build model ships with radars.
Yeah, not just radars, catapults.
Yes, it is the bee's knees.
Okay, how about this? if you're building ships, maybe buy one. But for anything else, like even armor, you don't need that one that big. Just get the little friggin' tiny one.
The bug.
Yeah,
it's called the bug.
Yeah, it's useful for like 90% of the things you'll do.
Yep.
No, the bug works well.
Yes.
But I've got both because I find that when I think that photo etch is sort of more in the model ships with the big large pieces and everything than say tanks or aircraft. Although I think there's some flap sections you can buy retro for aircraft. Anyway,
yes, right,
I digress. You need the great big long one to do that type of work. There's no other way you're going to get it done.
And with the long ones, they got multiple little points on them.
Yes, they have
different sizes.
Yep.
Which I find really handy. Like that's one of the best tools I bought, I reckon, lately. My photo etch bending tool.
Yep, but I bought the little bug one, and that's awesome for even tiny micro bits, and that works so well. I love it.
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
Another good tool you need, your radio.
Right.
So you can listen to music while you're modelling.
Or a podcast.
Or listen to a podcast.
If you listen to a podcast, so you need your computer.
Yes.
Or your smartphone.
Yes, well, computers are handy for modelling.
Yeah.
Especially for reference.
Yep. That's more entertainment, that.
Yeah, you need something. But you need background. You need something in the background while you're modelling.
It can keep you motivated,
True.
Yeah. Depends what you listen to, too.
Oh.
Yeah, so they both look at me and shake their heads. If the window's rattling, I'm right for modelling.
I guess at the end of the day, really, just go and have a look around in different hardware stores and model places and just see what you think might work. And 9 times out of 10, it will.
Yep.
Also, don't be afraid to sort of, modify things to use for modelling tools.
Exactly, yeah.
One of my favourite or most helpful pieces is a piece of wire that I use to apply super glue with.
Yes.
And, that's next to nothing as a tool, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
always keep a roll of fuse wire for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So just keep your eye up and talk with other people what they use and what they build and how they build and watch various sort of YouTube channels. But at the end of the day, you're going to settle on your sort of,
Yeah, what you're most comfortable with.
Exactly right. All right, I think that just about wraps up that section on tools, and I think we need to have a chat about what's new in the modelling world, because there's a few announcements coming out that I'm sure a lot of people are going to find interesting. And we're back with what's new in the modelling world. So, first of all, to kick off, looks like Amusing Hobbies got a new tank out in 1/35th scale. Panzerkampfwagen 38D, which is just a bit of an odd thing, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, it looks like it's got got a Panzer 4 or something turret on it?
Yeah, something like that. So that's out from Amusing Hobby. There's been quite a lot of releases announced from all the main manufacturers, being at the beginning of the year, obviously. So Itali's got their new catalogue out, in which there'll be some interesting stuff that we'll talk about in coming episodes. Kinetic Models. Now, there's a few in here that they've got their new catalogue out, but there's a few here that I need to mention right off the back, and they've got a host of new aircraft coming out. First of all, they're doing the M346 Master, which is an advanced jet trainer. That's in 1/48 scale. They're doing a US Navy E2C in 1/48 scale, that's going to be a great little kit, I think.
Yeah.
An F-16C with Turkish Air Force decals. Also, they're doing the FA-18A, B, C, and D model, all in the same kit. So it's going to have different sort of parts that you can connect on. It's going to have the Blue Angels decals with that, and hopefully there'll be a host of other sort of decals for other air forces.
If they're doing all those 4 different variants.
Yes. Yep.
I see also they're doing a Picara.
Now, the Picaras, that's been generating a lot of interest on Facebook and online, and it's a subject that hasn't been touched, and
not by the main manufacturers.
Not by the main manufacturers, and it's a real interesting sort of coin aircraft,
Yes.
counterinsurgency one. So, of course, it was famously used during the Falklands War by the Argentine Air Force. In fact, it was designed and built in Argentina, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and it was one of their sort of very few. Well, they had quite an aircraft industry back in the 50s and the 60s, going into the 70s as well.
Well, they ended up getting Kurt Tank after the Second World War.
Yes, they did.
The man who gave us the Focke-Wulf 190.
Wow.
So the Picara, that's going to be a fantastic little kit to be looking out for, again in 1/48 scale. Also, they're doing the CF-188, the Royal Canadian Air Force variant of the F-18. The Cheetah D, which is the South African version of the Mirage.
Yes.
Which I think was then on-sold to the Israelis as the Kiffer, from memory.
Right.
Or I think the South Africans worked in conjunction with the Israeli Air Force in building that. That's one of the little canard wings just behind the forward cockpit there.
Yep.
Again, that's in 1/48 scale. The F5AB, again, this is going to be a Turkish Air Force variant, and it's quite an attractive little aircraft with white and red markings. And Chuck Yeager used to love this aircraft. He reckons one of the best sort of fighters that the US ever produced. He used to love it.
Yeah, they were very highly regarded. I also noticed this is one for the people who like large 172 scale. They're doing a C-17A.
C-17A in 1/72nd scale. That's going to be huge.
I've seen some pictures online. Apparently, it's got some very large amount of detail inside as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to see some of them being built. That'd be really interesting. And finally, from the aircraft side of things, they're doing an FA-18D ATERS in 1/48 scale as well. Armour, they're doing the Israel Defence Force M109 self-propelled howitzer, and also they're doing the M3A3 Bradley, which it's not. Just wondering whether it's a Reeboks, but it's saying it's a new, so it'll be interesting to see what that one comes out as well. And next, the announcement from Kitty Hawk is an S35 flanker. This one comes in the China PLA Air Force markings. I think it looks like a commemorative sort of box. It says 1949, so commemorating the People's Liberation Army Air Force, which has been around since 1949. That scale is 148, and seeing Kitty Hawk is a bit hit and miss. It'll be interesting to see
what it's going to be like.
What it's going to be like.
Yes.
Also from Bandai, they're bringing out a 1 to 1/12 scale Luke and Han Solo dressed up as stormtroopers. So that should be interesting for those of you who follow and want to build Star Wars stuff.
Yep.
Mini Art have dropped their 1/35th scale T55 early model, which is a 1965 65 model. Another T55. Wow, geez, how many of them are out in the market now?
A lot.
Absolutely.
And ICM.
ICM have dropped their catalogue, and they've got a heap of stuff there. And again, we'll be going in more detail with hopefully in the coming episodes of what ICM has sort of dropped. But they've producing hundreds of, well, not hundreds, they're dozens of new aircraft. Some of the interesting ones is they're doing a Dornier 17Z, and also a version of it for that was used by the Finnish Air Force as well.
One's at night with a 72 scale by the looks of it too.
Yeah, 72 scale. Ju-88 in what scale's that? 48 scale. Gee, that's going to be a nice little kit.
Mm-hmm.
We've already got quite a few Ju-88s.
Yeah, it looks like a couple of new Heinkel 111s.
Yep.
And a Dornier 217N Night Fighter. That'd be an interesting kit.
Yeah, the Heinkel will be nice because I don't think anybody's done a
Monogram.
Yeah, Monogram's the last one, yeah.
Which, what I've been told, is not a bad kit anyway.
Oh, Airfix, they did a Heinkel. I was in
48.
in
72.
72nd scale, yeah. Also, ICM are releasing a huge amount of figures to go with the aircraft in 132nd scale. Geez, there's too many there to really name at this point. Infantry, of course, they're doing Turkish infantry from 1915-1918, a 4-figure set. British infantry gas mass, in gas mass, I should say, 1917. And US infantry 1918 in gas mass, as well as French infantry from 1914. You can pose to be in a march sort of situation.
And nice blue uniforms.
Nice blue uniforms that they used, yes. Yeah, that wasn't conspicuous on the front line at all, was it? Ships and boats, the Markgraf, which is a World War I German battleship that's going to be in 1/700 scale, and is going to be either full hull or waterline. You can pose it either way. Other aircraft that's coming out from ICM is a I-16 Type 28 World War II Soviet fighter. They're doing the Type 29 I-16 Soviet fighter, as well as the I-153 Soviet fighter as well, which is the
winter version with skis.
Yeah.
Don't mind the little Chaker.
No.
Sexy looking little plane.
Yeah, it certainly is. I had the pleasure of listening to one of them do some run-ups when I was in the US about 5 years ago. I came across this airport and they had a museum there, and they just had it out there just doing some run-ups. And geez, it was loud.
Chris, who was on one of our podcasts a while ago, Chris Dowsett, he was up at Wanaka in New Zealand for the air show when they first had the. It must have been about 6 or 7 of them fly over.
Oh yeah,
wow. It just sounds like a bunch of dudes on Harleys.
Also doing a Buka BU 131B German training aircraft, which looks suspiciously like a Tiger Moth.
Oh, they're slightly different.
Yep. German Luftwaffe pilots, 3 figures. What scale is that?
32 scale.
32 scale. And Russian pilots, as well as some more German Luftwaffe cadets, set in various poses, etc., etc., etc.
So a fair bit coming out of ICM by the sounds.
A fair bit coming out from ICM for sure. Now, the next one we're going to have a look at is, it comes from Hasegawa, and they've got some interesting stuff coming out, actually. First of all, they're doing a 1/700 scale USS South Dakota. The interesting thing about this ship, it was only in service for about 5 years, and then was just laid up in reserve from 1946 and eventually sold in scrap in 1962. So it's a limited edition kit that features photo etched parts and accessories. Also, they're doing a F-35 Lightning II with Israeli Air Force markings. This is 1/72 scale. It comes with 68 pieces. So that'll be a great little kit. For cars, they're doing the Subaru Legacy RS limited edition in 1/24 scale. Gee, that'd make a large kit, won't it? Mm. A Formula One Espol LaRousse LC90 in 1/24 scale. And these Formula One kits look really pretty, don't they, when they're all done up?
Very colourful.
This will grab some people's interest. They're doing a tracker, an S2F1, which is the S2A tracker. That's in 1/72 scale, and it'll come with Japanese markings. Of course, these aircraft flew off aircraft carriers. The Australian Navy had some.
Yep.
As well as the US Navy, and of course the Japanese as well. And there's a couple of other nations that had them as well, which don't readily come to mind. 1/24 scale Lancer Delta HF Integral.
The Lancia.
Yeah. Ugly looking little car.
I agree.
They're doing the an Area 88 A10 Thunderbolt 2, which is the Greg Gates limited edition.
Would that be some manga thing, I gather?
Yeah, I think it might be in 1/72 scale.
Yeah, manga.
Yeah, manga.
Yep.
Area 88, which was the manga stuff that came out back in 79. In 1/32 scale, they're doing a A6 M50 Type 52, which will make a nice large aircraft.
Yeah, it's a limited edition kit too, by the looks of it.
Yeah, it certainly is. Gives you 2 decal options, one for the Imperial Japanese Navy, 332nd
Night Fighter Group.
And the 302nd Night Fighter Group as well. January 44 and January 45,
the ones with the
respectively.
little upwards firing gun in behind the cockpit, in behind the pilot seat.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And interestingly, they're Hasegawa are doing a limited edition, the Air Fight over Dunkirk in 1/72 scale. And in this, you get a Spitfire, you get a Messerschmitt 109, and you get a Heinkel. So that'll make a great little set, actually.
Yeah, it would.
I'm just hoping that, yeah. Because we're talking about the Heinkel, and so ICM said they're doing a Heinkel. And
48.
In 48 scale. Airfix does it in 1/72, so it'd be interesting to do the compare. That must be a rebox of the Heinkel.
I'd say it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Not being a 72 scale builder myself, I'm not too sure what.
No, I'm not either. Also on 1/72 scale, they're doing an F-16 Eagle from
F-15.
F-15 C Eagle from the Oregon Air National Guard 75th anniversary limited edition with some really pretty decals there to make
it. It's got a big flying eagle on it.
Big flying eagle on it. So that'll be a great little kit. Oh, the decals will drive you nuts. That'd be a. I know somebody who'd like that.
Yes.
Hamish.
Decal man.
Decal man. They're also doing a Porsche 962C limited edition. This was the one that was used in the Le Mans 24-hour. Also an Isuzu Gemini JT 190 in 1/24 scale.
Yep.
Such an ugly car. Produced from the mid-70s until 2000. I'm surprised it lasts that long. Anywho, moving on. In 1/72 scale, they're doing an F-14A Tomcat from Squadron 84, the Jolly Rogers.
Yes.
Which would be a lovely little kit.
My favourite scheme.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Skull and crossbones on it. Okay, and that's it from Hasegawa. Guys, have you got any sort of what's new to impart?
What was it? Wingnut Wings is releasing the Junkers
Yep.
monoplane. I think it's the J1 maybe, the corrugated iron monoplane, which looks like a stunning looking little kit. I think the first 12 of those were actually sold as naval aircraft.
Yes, I think they were.
German Kriegsmarine.
It's like corrugated iron on the side of it.
Yeah. It helps with lift.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, that's why they did it.
Huh. Well, there you go.
Generate lift.
On the fuselage.
Yeah.
That's something really serious.
And strength.
Oh, strength, I can understand that, yeah. Huh. Any new books or anything?
Oh,
You guys reading anything new?
no, nothing.
I'm
new,
not
mate.
really. Yeah, I don't really spend my money on books.
That's for them reading folk, that is.
Yeah,
No, it's not that I don't like reading. It's just that I don't like spending the money on it. That's all.
Savage.
Harsh.
I'm from a different generation, and I prefer to use the internet.
E-books.
Well, how do you go by? I mean, if you don't purchase books, I mean, because when you're sort of looking over pictures and you're sort of drooling and dribbling, it must go all over your screen or your iPad. That'd be.
I have a finite amount of space, and I'd rather fill it with kits than with books.
Well, there you go.
Absolutely. Okay, coming up next, we're going to be having a chat about how to display our models and what to do with the models once we finish building them.
Mm-hmm.
This comes as from one of our listeners who suggested this topic. So we'll be coming right back with that shortly. And we're back for our final little chat on what to do with our model kits once we've built them and how to display them. So, geez, I remember way back, the only way we used to display model kits was you get some fishing line and hang it from your
Hang from
bedroom
the
ceiling.
Yes,
That used to be the way to do it.
Yes.
Things have
that's
progressed
what I
on.
used to do. Remember having me big monogram 48 scale B17 hanging from the ceiling.
Oh, geez.
And then one day a school friend came around and goes, "Oh, I wonder how it flies," and gave it a bit of a shove, and because it's attached to the ceiling, it just went bang, nose first to the ceiling and just came apart.
Oh, no. Oh, jeez.
And then when you take them down after about 5 years and you realise how much dust is on top of those
Yep.
things.
Yep. So I guess the only real way to protect your models from dust, and considering how much we spend on a model kit, I mean, they can be anywhere from $60 up to $600 or even $1,000 in some
Yes.
cases. That, once you've built it, you want to display it in a safe sort of environment. So,
Dust free.
yeah. So what you're looking for really is some sort of really nice display case.
Yes.
Now, I have found that IKEA has been my friend in this area.
Yep.
And they've got these things called Billy. It's like a wall units that you put up, and you got glass doors that you can put on them.
Right.
And I found them absolutely fantastic for.
Those are the modular kind of ones
Yeah.
where you can pick and choose what
Yeah.
kind of cabinets and doors and things you want on them.
Yep, exactly right. And you can buy some lights, some LED lights inside, so you can have some light shining down. You can buy some glass inserts, so the model sits on a glass top.
Yep.
And it just looks absolutely fantastic. And I found it's the best way for displaying my models. The only part where I came a cropper was when I bought a 1/350 scale Chinese aircraft carrier, and I got it home and I thought,
Is it going to
is
fit?
it going to fit? So I took the hull out; it won't fit in the cabinet. So I've got to get a specialist cabinet.
Yeah, I came across that when I built me 48 scale Tamiya Lancaster. In both my cabinets, I couldn't fit it.
So
It's just too big. So it's sitting at a friend's place because he's got a bigger cabinet. So I've got two cabinets at home. I've got like a shop counter cabinet,
yep,
which is just what you'd probably see like at a jeweler's or something,
yep,
which sits about waist height. It's about 1600 long, so it's a nice length. It's got some decent depth, and that's got two shelves in the base, and that's just full of 48 scale aircraft. Well, there must be about 40 or 50 aircraft in there.
yep.
And then I've got a little custom built standalone stand-up cabinet, which you can not fit that much in. I've just got a bit of my submarines, ships and armour in there and a few figures. But what I've been looking at lately has been checking out shop fitting companies,
Yes.
and they can custom build. And some of the companies actually, their pricing not too bad. You can pick up. Well, you got to be prepared to spend a bit of money, like $1,200 or something, and you get a flat pack thing built to your specifications.
Or the other side of that is to look for shops that are going out of business.
Yes.
And actually go in there and make an offer to purchase some of their display cases.
I missed out a couple of years ago.
That's the common story. I mean, the businesses go out all the time, and they don't want to let anybody know that they failed.
Well,
No.
yeah. But, you know, you sometimes if you know that a shop's going to be selling up or moving or something like
you
that.
just mention what are you going to do with your cabinets.
Yeah.
And most of the times, these people, sometimes they even give them away. And you've just saved yourself $800
Yep.
Australian.
Moving the thing's another matter.
Moving's another thing, especially glass cabinets.
Yeah, when they're not flat packed.
Really,
Yeah.
really careful.
Yeah.
But it's a way to display, because if you get a good cabinet, it's sealed. You don't have to worry about dusting. Maybe dusting once a year. And dusting your models, I usually just use the old camera cleaners where you had like your little bellows with a brush on the end.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And just lightly brush that over, or a very soft brush.
Like the makeup brushes that the women use.
Yeah. Something soft that's not going to abrase the finish. But it depends what kits you got. Some kits, like I've got a few dioramas that have been sitting around, not because they're not the right size to fit in cabinets. And you look at the dust on them now, and it's like, well, the only way to fix that is to pull everything apart and redo it.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to get that clean.
But even with the IKEA cabinets that I use, dust still gets in there.
Yeah, if they got big enough gaps, it will.
Yeah. See, I have a standalone IKEA cabinet. I think it's the Detolf, and it's really common. Like, a lot of people use it.
Yep.
But it's got great big gaps that go all the way around on the front. And so you can see there's a few guides out there on how to kind of dust proof it, where you've gotten like foam tape and you've run it all the way around. But the problem is you can't get in the corner where the hinge is.
Yep.
So I'm lazy, right? So I haven't gotten around to doing this, but I plan to just put a piece of tape over that side.
Yep, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
anything to stop dust getting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that'd work too.
Yeah, but it's a small cabinet, so I tend to put newer stuff in there, and then the older stuff I retire and give away or whatever,
Oh, your kits.
Yeah.
I saw online recently, the way they display their aircraft kits was on the wall. So they just face them on the wall.
Oh,
and they just hang them
yeah,
on the wall.
yeah.
So
Now-
you're looking straight at the top of the aircraft.
Wasn't it Hong Kong models that did that B-17 and they had the specific wall mounting bracket so you could display it like that? Yeah. Which I think's awesome. But of course, the problem with that is you're going to be exposed to dust.
Exactly.
So you have to be prepared to sort of go around and dust.
And the other thing you got to watch out for too is fingers. People that aren't modelers usually have a tendency to touch. Oh, look at that! I'll touch that, and then start breaking things off it.
But if you imagine, displaying your aircraft like that on the wall, if you're really clever, you could paint the wall with clouds.
Well, actually, you'd paint the wall with the groundscape.
Or groundscape, yeah, absolutely.
There's all different ways. Ships, I've seen some guy, can't remember where he was, but he actually made these custom wall-mounted cabinets that weren't very deep. And you can just put one ship on top of the other on all the different shelves, and that looked quite stunning.
Yeah,
for the ship modelers.
Yeah.
And you do like if you're stuck for space, you can just where you'd have a picture frame, you just got one of these.
Yeah.
And you put your ships in it. You can put a couple of armor kits in there, set them straight. Aircraft, you have a bit of trouble because of the width.
Yes.
So anything that's got is quite narrow, it'd fit in there quite nicely.
Yeah.
What about giving your models away?
Yeah, I'm happy to give models away.
Really?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not the kind of modeler who goes, oh, well, I'm running out of room. Time to get another cabinet. No,
no, that's me.
That's me too.
I don't have that kind of space. So I sort of have a sort of reasonable amount. Some of them I keep around, and some of them are permanent, and some of them are sort of definitely there temporarily, and then I move them out and give them away in exchange for new ones. So it's kind of like I'm always rotating, and I think that helps sort of keep me going keeps,
Yeah.
I'm pushed to keep making new things.
Mm.
Yeah. What I do is down here in Melbourne we have what's called the Waverley Interclub, which is like an inter-club competition.
Between about 3 or 4 different clubs.
Correct, yeah. And each club gets 2 kits, usually an aircraft kit and something else. And it's all the same kit, and you got to build it.
Yep.
And I always end up getting the aircraft kit to build. And when I finish building it and the club and the comp's done, I raffle them off at work.
You make a bit of money on the side, or just free raffle?
Nah, free raffle.
Oh, good.
Because usually a subject I'm not interested in anyway.
Yeah.
So I just build it, see how it goes in the comp, and then raffle it off and send it into state, and someone has it nicely in their house.
Yep. The other thing too is you could give some of your models away to return service leagues here in Australia.
Veterans
associations
in America, yeah.
Yep. Return Service League here in Australia. I'm not sure what's called in Canada or the UK. But a lot of these places have specific places where returned veterans can go and have a drink or have a meal and that type of thing. And they'll have all memorabilia sort of up in the display cases. Or even if you're doing really specific subjects, get in touch with a particular regiment or squadron, or even, like you and I did, Ian, we went on that visit on
HMAS Rankin.
HMAS Rankin, the submarine. We actually took a model and presented it to them.
Yeah.
And it sits in the wardroom.
And it's still there, apparently.
It's still there.
On board, model of the submarine, on board the submarine.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great way to sort of get you sort of hooked into your local military.
Yes.
And
these guys are always grateful.
Yeah, they are. And there's smaller museums, so I'm not thinking of your sort of state museums, but there's sort of small museums that are run that be quite happy to accept model kits of specific subject matters or subjects that sort of fit with what they're displaying.
Exactly, yeah. I don't expect to, if you give them something that's just not suitable.
Yeah. So if they've got if there's a museum on, for example, I don't know, the Vietnam War, for example, they're not going to be too happy to accept, Crusader Knights and things like that.
Exactly. Yes.
So you really got to sort of, and it's somewhere, the model can live on in perpetuity then, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That's why it works well that way.
Giving away to friends and relations is another thing. That's...
yeah,
or just
I did that a lot.
Or just get bigger, more cabinets.
Buy a bigger house or rent a bigger house.
A bigger house, yeah. Get more cabinets. Yeah. That's what my plan is this year.
Well, the really easy way, if you're really stuck to give one away, you put it in a model competition, and when the competition's over, you just walk out of there and leave it there.
And leave it. Yeah, that's been done before.
So how often do you do that?
I don't think I've actually done it. I think... I can't remember what I might have done it once. I can't remember.
Oh, geez.
Well, basically, the other thing you can also do, if you had a competition, just put a little sign next to it.
Yeah, please take me at the end of the competition.
Yeah.
Free to a good home.
If anyone wants this...
someone will take it anyway.
Yeah, that's
people steal models from competitions, right?
Well, they do occasionally. It's not
sad to say.
It's very sad to say. I know what happened last year at one of the local comps. Someone had a model stolen, and it's just a wrong thing to do. And it must be hard on the guys running it, because then they've got to explain to the builder that, look, sorry, mate, but someone's walked off with your pride and joy.
Actually, Julian, I think you're onto something here. So at a model show, you could sort of bring a whole heap of models in to be displayed, enter them in competitions or whatever, and then just have a little sign, free to a good home, at the end of the show.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there who take an interest in these things but don't build them themselves.
And kids, it'd be a great way to encourage kids into the hobby, because, they come through and look at the model shows and everything, and how they walk around with eyes like saucers.
Oh, do they ever?
Yeah, dinner plates are, looking around, so you might be onto something here.
The man with the knowledge.
Ideas.
So I guess the important thing is just keep your eyes open for, ex-display cabinets from shops and that type of stuff.
Yep.
Have a look at specialty shops that do build, if you've got the money to specifically build a display case to suit your dimensions and needs. Have a look in IKEA or shops like that. I mean, they've got lots of different sort of options there.
And with a display case, you really look for something that's going to be sealed properly.
Yes, absolutely.
Cleaning models is a real hassle.
Especially ships with all the railings and everything.
Rigging, tell me about it.
Although, if I was a diorama guy, I would actually think about building like a clear
Perspex cover.
Perspex box that goes over the top of it.
And the same with ships too, actually. There's a few guys who actually do that. They'll build a specific Perspex cover to go on top of it, to protect it and make sure.
It hermetically sealed.
Yeah, so that's another way of doing it. And that way you don't have to worry about building a big case.
Yeah.
Well, they still need shelves, don't you? Show them
Yes,
off.
true. Too true, Dave.
Just put it under the bed.
All right, so I think that just about wraps up on that subject. And again, thanks very much, guys, for coming along today.
No worries, Dave.
Thanks, Julian, for coming back.
No worries.
Next episode, not quite sure what we're going to talk about yet. Maybe you got an idea out there you'd like us to have a chat. So please drop us a line at onthebench64@gmail.com or go and visit our Facebook page, On The Bench. Just do a search for On The Bench in Facebook and you'll find our page there. And you can always drop us a message there. And, of course, with this, if you could just go into whatever app that you're listening to us on and just give us a rating as well, 'cause it helps other people find the podcast.
Yep, true.
So that'd be just leave us a nice little 4 or 5 stars, whichever you think's appropriate. And I think that's it for this episode. So, Ian.
Bye, everyone. Happy modelling.
And Jules.
Yep, see ya.
Okay. All right, thanks very much. Bye.